which are made up of many cells, they are known as the multicellular organism. अगर हमें यूनिसेलुलर का कोई एग्जाम्पल देना आ जाए तो छोटी क्लासेस से हमारा एक बड़ा फेवरेट सा एग्जाम्पल होता है अमीबा। अमीबा की अगर हम बात करें तो इस तरीके से कि रेगुलर शेप बॉडी ऑर्गेनिज्म है, बीच में एक न्यूक्लियस है, चारों तरफ साइटोप्लाज्म है, इसको हम क्या नाम देते हैं? अमीबा। और ये किसका एग्जाम्पल हो जाएगा? यूनिसेलुलर का, बिकॉज इट इज मेड अप ऑफ ओनली वन सेल। अगर हमें मैनी सेल्स का एग्जाम्पल देना है कि मल्टी सेलुलर ऑर्गेनिज्म में हम किसको काउंट कर सकते हैं, तो वी कैन टेक द एग्जाम्पल ऑफ ह्यूमन बींग्स। वी आर द एग्जाम्पल ऑफ द मल्टी सेलुलर ऑर्गेनिजम्स। तो क्लियर है यहाँ तक? ये हमारा जनरल टॉपिक था जो पिछली क्लासेस में हमने पढ़ा है कि सेल के बेसिस पर हम ऑर्गेनिजम्स को दो कैटेगरी में डिवाइड करते हैं, यूनी और मल्टी सेलुलर की कैटेगरी में। नाउ वी मूव ऑन द नेक्स्ट टॉपिक, जो पहले भी हम बात कर रहे थे कि सेल्स जो है उनकी डिस्कवरी कैसे हुई, सेल को किसने डिस्कवर किया, किस तरीके से सेल जो है वो हमारी नॉलेज में आई कि सेल नाम का कोई कॉन्सेप्ट है, सेल कोई चीज है। तो नाउ वी रीड अबाउट द डिस्कवरी ऑफ द सेल। तो सेल को डिस्कवर करने में जो सबसे पहला और सबसे इंपॉर्टेंट नाम आता है दैट इज रॉबर्ट हुक। एक साइंटिस्ट थे रॉबर्ट हुक जिन्होंने 1665 में सेल को डिस्कवर किया था। और ये भी इंटरेस्टिंग है कि जब रॉबर्ट हुक ने सेल को डिस्कवर किया तो उस टाइम पर माइक्रोस्कोप का इतना चलन नहीं था, माइक्रोस्कोप्स के बारे में इतना लोग जानते नहीं थे, इवन बने भी नहीं थे। रॉबर्ट हुक जो थे इन्होंने एक खुद के डिजाइन किए हुए एक सेल्फ डिजाइंड माइक्रोस्कोप से सेल को डिस्कवर किया 1665 के अंदर। और सेल को उन्होंने डिस्कवर जब किया, जो फर्स्ट उन्होंने मटेरियल यूज किया सेल को डिस्कवर करने के लिए, दैट इज द थिन स्लाइस ऑफ कॉर्क। सेल की डिस्कवरी उन्होंने की थिन स्लाइसिस ऑफ कॉर्क की मदद से। थिन स्लाइसिस उसने क्यों ली? क्योंकि जब माइक्रोस्कोप में कोई भी चीज देखनी होती है तो हम उसका अगर बिल्कुल पतले से पतला सेक्शन लेते हैं तब हमें सारे जो ऑर्गेनलीज उसके अंदर होते हैं वो क्लियरली नजर आते हैं। तो थिन स्लाइसिस ऑफ कॉर्क जो है वो यूज की थी रॉबर्ट हुक ने, और इसको उसने ऑब्जर्व किया था अपने खुद के बनाए हुए माइक्रोस्कोप की मदद से। और उसको उसमें जो स्ट्रक्चर नजर आई थी वो कुछ इस तरह की स्ट्रक्चर्स थी, हनीकॉम लाइक स्ट्रक्चर्स जो है वो उसने ऑब्जर्व की थी अपने उस सेल्फ मेड माइक्रोस्कोप की मदद से, जो बिल्कुल बीच में से एम्प्टी थी और ऐसा लग रहा था जैसे मधुमक्खी का छत्ता होता है ना, उस तरह की स्ट्रक्चर जो है वो रॉबर्ट हुक ने डिस्कवर की थी। बाद में ये हुआ कि एक्चुअल में जो सेल डिस्कवर की गई थी वो कैसी सेल्स थी? स्टूडेंट, yesterday we discussed the shape and the size of the cell, and today we discuss the basic component of a cell. Generally, a cell is made up of the three basic components. The first one is plasma membrane, second one is nucleus, and the third one is cytoplasm. These three are the basic component of a cell, and these three are known as collectively they are known as the functional region of the cell. Out of these three, first one is plasma membrane. The main function of this membrane is to separate this inner content of the cell from the outer surrounding. It separates all the content from the outer environment. Then the nucleus. Nucleus performs the same function that is performed by the brain in our body. It controls all the activity of the cell. All the activity, metabolic activity which is occur in a cell, that is controlled by this nucleus. So that's why it is known as the control center of the cell. Then this is the cytoplasm. It is the fluid which is present in the cell, and all the metabolic activity is occur in this cytoplasm. Yes student, out of that three component, today we elaborate this term nucleus. We read about the nucleus in detail today. Nucleus, as we already said, it is the control center of the cell. It controls all the activity of the cell. So here is the structure of the nucleus. It generally consists of the four parts: the nuclear membrane, nuclear pores, chromatin network, nucleoplasm, and the nucleolus. These are the main part of a nucleus. First, we discuss the nuclear membrane. Nuclear membrane is the outermost covering of the nucleus. There are generally the two membranous structure are present in the nucleus, outer membrane and the inner membrane. This outer membrane contains the ribosomes on it, and these ribosomes help in the protein synthesis. Then in this nuclear membrane there are some small pores are present, small holes are present in it that are known as the nuclear pores. With the help of these pores, the nucleus can exchange the material with the surrounding, with the cytoplasm. So these pores help this membrane, this nucleus to, so these pores help the nucleus to take the to exchange the material. Then next one is the nucleolus. Nucleolus is a nearly rounded structure present in the nucleus. The main thing which are present in the nucleolus are the RNA and the protein. This nucleolus generally contains these two things, the RNA and the protein. These RNA is responsible, these are mainly the site for the ribosomes, and ribosomes help in the protein synthesis. Generally, in all the cells, only the single nucleus is present, but there are number of cells in which the two nuclei are present. Basically, the cell paramecium, it have the two nuclei, and there are some cells also in which the more than two nuclei are present. And also it is interesting that in some cells, when that cells mature, then they lose their nucleus at the time of maturity, like the RBCs in the mammals. And that kind of cells which do not have the nucleus, they can survive only for a short duration of time. Yes student, we discussed nuclear membrane, nucleolus, nuclear pores. Then there is the nucleoplasm. Plasm word for the liquid. It is the liquid which is present in the nucleus, that is called the nucleoplasm. It is the material in which this nucleolus and all the things like chromatin thread, they all are suspended in it. That structure is called the nucleoplasm. All the activity of the nucleus actually happen in this nucleoplasm. Then our next topic, chromatin network. Chromatin network, actually these are the thread-like structure which are present in the nucleus that are known as the chromatin thread. During the time of cell division, when a cell start dividing, then these thread-like structure will start condensing and they will start forming the rod-like structure that is known as the chromosomes. When the cell divide, then these kind of structure are formed, chromosome. These are the structure, chromatin actually the structure which helps to transfer the hereditary information from one generation to the next generation. The one function of the nucleus is also that it help to carry the hereditary information from one to the next. It contain all the hereditary unit, all the hereditary information, and it transfer it to the next with the help of this chromosome. We also discussed the structure of this chromosome. There are the two structures are here, that is known as the chromatids. The structure which are present here, that are actually known as the chromatid. These are the arm of a chromosome, and this structure attached with it, with this structure, a spherical shaped structure, that structure is known as the centromere. This is the part from where these two structures are attached with it, and this structure actually known as chromatid. These are also known as the arm of the chromosome. Yes student, at last we discuss the function of the nucleus. First of all, it controls all the metabolic activity of the cell, so that's why it is called the control center of the cell. Next one, it regulates the cell cycle. All the cell cycle is generally controlled by the nucleus, and it also help in the cell division. It take part in the formation of ribosome, which we have already read in the nucleolus. The nucleolus generally the site for the ribosome synthesis. Then it contain all the genetic information. It help to transfer the genetic information from one to the next. So this is all about the function of the nucleus. Hello student, in our previous session we discussed about the nucleus. Today we discuss the plasma membrane. This is the second most important basic component of the cell. So today we discuss the plasma membrane. Actually this plasma membrane is the outermost covering of a cell, and this plasma membrane separate the inner content of a cell from the outer surrounding. And plasma membrane is a living membrane. It is thin and a elastic membrane. On the basis of permeability, the membranes are of different kinds. Here we provided the name. First of all, impermeable membrane. These are that kind of membrane which do not allow any material like solvent or the solute particles to pass through them. They are totally impermeable. They are that kind of membrane are generally cuticle layer. This kind of cuticle layer is generally present on the xerophytic plant, the plants which are grown in the desert. In that cases, that plant do not want the process of transpiration. So, to prevent the loss of water, they have a extra layer on it, that is the cuticle layer, and that is impermeable. Second one is permeable. Permeable are those kind of membrane which allow all the material like solvent and the solute particles to pass through them, and the example of that kind of cell is primary cell wall. Next is the semi-permeable membrane. Semi-permeable membrane are those membrane which allow only the solvent particles but not the solute to pass through them. That kind of membrane are called semi-permeable membrane. And the example of that kind of membranes are artificial vapor membrane. These are the example of semi-permeable membrane. And last one is selectively permeable membrane. Selective word is here for only this kind of membrane which allow only this membrane allows solvent but also some selected solute particles, so that's why they are known as the selectively membrane. There is a basic difference between these two, semi-permeable and selectively permeable. Semi-permeable only allows solvent, not the solute, but this membrane allow solvent also along with some selected solute particles, so that's why it is called selectively permeable membrane. And the plasma membrane which we discussed today, that membrane is the selectively permeable membrane. So here a question can be arise, why the plasma membrane is called the selectively permeable membrane? Because it allow only the selected particles to move in and out of the cell. Yes student, now we discuss the molecular structure of plasma membrane. Basically, all the plasma membrane are composed of protein, lipids and the small fractions of carbohydrates. Actual molecular structure of this, there are various models are given regarding the structure of the plasma membrane, but the main basic structure of this plasma membrane is explained by this model, the fluid mosaic model. This model is given by the two scientists whose name are Singer and Nicholson. They proposed this model in 1972, and according to this model, the plasma membrane is made up of a bilayer of lipid. A bilayer, bi means two. There are two layers of lipids are present, and in it there are the protein molecules. There are generally the two type of protein molecules, intrinsic and extrinsic protein are present in it, and this intrinsic protein are embedded in this lipid bilayer incompletely or completely, and this extrinsic protein is present over this bilayer of lipid. Intrinsic, intra word come for inside, and extra word, extreme, this word is come for outside. So these kind of protein are present embedded in it, and these kind of protein are present on this plasma membrane. The plasma membrane mainly made up of a bilayer of lipid, and it also consists of the protein. The plasma membrane is a membrane which is living. It allows selected particles to move in and out of the cell. So this is about the molecular structure of the plasma membrane. Now we discuss the function of this plasma membrane. What function are performed by this plasma membrane in a cell? The main functions of a plasma membrane are, the first one, it gives form to the cell, means it gives a definite shape to a cell. Secondly, it protects the cell from the injury. It is the outermost covering, so it protects a cell from the injury, external injury. Third one, it regulates the flow of selected material into and out of the cell. As we already discussed, it is a selectively permeable membrane, so it allows only the selected material to move in and out of the cell. It's also the function of plasma membrane. Then it acts as a mechanical barrier. It protects the internal content of the cell. It acts as a mechanical barrier. It's same thing like this. It protects the cell from the injury. It acts as a mechanical barrier. It protects the internal content of the cell. So this is about the function, main function of the plasma membrane. There are some another function of the plasma membrane are also, but we discuss only these four main basic function of the plasma membrane. Now next we move on our next topic, that is the transport of the material across a membrane. Plasma membrane in a cell help in the transport of material. That kind of transport are of two types, the active transport and the passive transport. There are generally two type of transport, but there is also another type of transport mechanism is there, that is the bulk transport, that we discuss in our next classes. But in our according to our 9th class, there are the two transport are included. First one, the active transport. It is a type of transport across the plasma membrane which require the use of energy. It is a transport in which the material are transferred with the help of the energy, and that energy is provided in the form of ATP. And there is also another type of transport that is called the passive transport. It also a transport which is done without the use of energy. In such kind of transport, there is no expenditure of energy is there. Passive transport generally of two types, that is the diffusion and the osmosis. Out of the two type of passive transport, here we discuss the process of diffusion. Diffusion actually a process of the movement of a substance. That substance may be liquid, solid or gas. It is the movement of the substance from the region of its higher concentration to the region of its lower concentration. That substance move from the region of its higher concentration where it is present in the large quantity, and it will move to that region where it is present in the less concentration in the less quantity. So this kind of movement from higher region to the lower region, that is known as the diffusion. And diffusion we can demonstrate easily with the help of an example. Suppose we have a bottle of scent. If we open that bottle in one corner of the room, after some time it will be spread in whole the room. That is due to the process of diffusion. Suppose we are in that corner of the room, here the concentration of that perfume is more, but in surrounding it is less. So that perfume will move from that higher concentration to the lower concentration, and slowly it will be spread in the whole room. That is due to the process of diffusion. Clear? So we can show this process with the help of that bottle of perfume. Next, diffusion across the cell membrane. How the diffusion is occur through the cell membrane? Here we can take the example of a cell. Suppose there is a cell. If the cell performs the process of respiration, then it will lose the oxygen. It has the less oxygen. So but in the surrounding medium, suppose that cell in the water more concentration of O2 is there, but in cell it is less. So oxygen will move from that surrounding medium to the cell, but when the cell respire, it will produce the CO2. So here the concentration of CO2 is more, but in the surrounding the concentration of CO2 is less, so that the CO2 gas will move from cell to the outside. So by this example we can show that the things move from higher to the lower concentration. Here concentration of O2 is more, here is less. So O2 move from higher to lower. But in cell the concentration of CO2 is more, but in the surrounding less CO2. So CO2 move from this to this area. So this is the way how the gases are exchanged through the cell membrane. Actually the process of respiration occur in our body due to the process. But In our body, only simple diffusion is not sufficient, that we discuss in our next chapters. Here we just give the description of this diffusion process. Next, the importance of diffusion, where the diffusion is important, in which part, in which region it is important. First of all, in the gaseous exchange, here we discuss about it. Then the transpiration, as you already know what is transpiration. We read about the transpiration in our 8th class, in 7th class. It is the process in which the plant loses the water in the form of water vapors. That process is called transpiration. It is done due to the process of diffusion. Water move from higher to lower concentration. Then aroma, the fragrance of the flower is spread in the surrounding. That is due to the process of diffusion. And there is another process, osmosis. That is also a type of diffusion. This topic we will discuss in our next session. So here we discuss about the diffusion, and next our topic in our next session, the topic is the osmosis. Hello student, today we read about the topic osmosis. Here we discuss the process osmosis, the method of transportation. First of all, there is the definition of osmosis is given. It is the movement of water from the area of its higher concentration to the area of its lower concentration through a semi-permeable membrane. Yesterday we read about the diffusion. That is the process in which any substance moves. Here only the movement of water or any solvent from the area of its higher concentration to the area of its lower concentration. But in diffusion, there is no need of the semi-permeable membrane. But for this process, osmosis, there is the need of a semi-permeable membrane. These are the basic differences between the osmosis and the diffusion process. That diffusion and osmosis, both the process which are used for the transportation purpose, but there are some basic differences in them that we already discussed here. Then this osmosis, it is of two types, that is endosmosis and the exosmosis. In science, the endo word come for the inside and this exo word come for outside. So if we define endosmosis, then we can say it is the osmotic entry of water into a cell. When water is entered into a cell, then that process is called endosmosis. And exo, we already discussed, for the outside. So it is the osmotic withdrawal of water from a cell. When the water is moved out of the cell, then that process is known as the exosmosis. Yes student, now we demonstrate this process of osmosis. How this process is occur in the laboratory. We will do this experiment in our lab after this. But now we discuss it here with the help of this diagram. First of all, we take a funnel that contains the sugar solution, and we just tie it with the help of a semi-permeable membrane, or at this end we tie up a semi-permeable membrane, and we place it in the beaker which is filled with the water. We invert this funnel and place it in the beaker that is filled with the water. First of all, we observe the level of sugar in the funnel, that is on this level A. But after some time, when we place it in the water, then we observe after some time the level of the sugar is increased in the funnel from this level A to the level B. So now student, there is a question arise, why the level of the sugar is increased in this funnel from A to B? What happens there? So dear student, as we already read, osmosis is a process in which a solvent moves from the higher concentration to the lower concentration. So here in the beaker, the water molecule is present. Water is a solvent. Here is the higher concentration of the solvent. We just demonstrate this small portion with the help of this. This small portion is elaborated here. This one is the semi-permeable membrane, and here the water molecules are present. So water is at higher concentration. Water in this, there is the higher concentration of solvent, but here the concentration of solvent is less. So the water will move from this higher concentration to the lower concentration through the semi-permeable membrane, and this process is known as the osmosis. So we can experimentally show the process of osmosis with the help of this experiment. Yes student, after osmosis we read about the osmotic solutions. Osmotic solutions are those solutions which can cause the osmosis if they are separated from the solvent by a semi-permeable membrane. Generally, there are the three kind of osmotic solutions are present. First one hypotonic, second one isotonic, and the third one is hypertonic. In science, the hypo word always come for less. Iso word always come for same. And this hyper word come for more. Means, first of all we take hypotonic solution. It is a dilute solution which has an osmotic concentration lower than that of another solution. Hypo means less. So it is a solution which has the lower concentration, osmotic concentration than that of the another solution. Second one is isotonic. Iso word is come for same. So means it is a solution which has the similar concentration to that of the another solution. Then next one is the hypertonic solution. Hyper word come for more. So it is a solution which has more or higher concentration than that of the another solution, that is called the hypertonic solution. So these are the three kind of osmotic solution: hypotonic, isotonic, and the hypertonic solution. Clear? Hypo for the less, so it means it has less concentration than that of another. Iso for the same, so it has the similar concentration than that of the another solution. And hyper for the more, so this solution has the more concentration than that of the another solution. Now the questioning can be like this: what will happens to a cell when it is placed in hypotonic solution? What happens to the cell when it is placed in isotonic solution? What happens to a cell when it is placed in the hypertonic solution? So here we first take the example of the hypotonic solution. So student, if a cell is placed in the hypotonic solution, hypotonic, as we already read, hypotonic is for the dilute solution. In science, dilute solutions are those which has more water in it, and concentrated word for that which has less water concentration. So here we take the example of hypotonic solution. So if a cell is placed in hypotonic solution, that means that solution is dilute solution, and dilute solution is that which has more water concentration. So means the cell has less water concentration, the solution has more water concentration. So water will move from outside to inside the cell due to the process of the endosmosis. So when a cell is placed in hypotonic solution, then it shows the process endosmosis. When a cell placed in hypotonic solution, then water is enter into the cell, and water enter into the cell, then the cell swells up. You have seen that when your mother is preparing any dish with the help of the resins, so they first dip them into the water, and after some time that resin becomes swollen. That is due to this phenomenon endosmosis. Next one is the isotonic solution. As we already discussed, iso word come for the same. So that means the cell and the surrounding medium have the same concentration, so that the similar amount of water will enter or exit the cell. If the similar quantities enter or exit, then what happens to the shape of the cell? Then there is no change in the shape of the cell, that remains same in the shape. So this is about the isotonic solution. When a cell is placed in isotonic solution, then there is no change in the shape of the cell. Now next one we read about the hypertonic solution. Yes, now student, we observe what will happens to a cell when it is placed in a hypertonic solution. So as we already read, the hyper word come for the more, or you can say hypertonic solution is a concentrated solution, and concentrated, which we already discussed, that kind of solution which has the less water concentration. That means this is the cell and the surrounding medium has the less water concentration as comparison to this cell. So as we already read, the water will move from higher concentration to lower. So here water is present in more quantity as comparison to outside. So the water will move out from the cell, and this process is known as the exosmosis. And due to the exosmosis, water will move out from the cell and the cell will start shrinking in the size. So when a cell is placed in hypertonic solution, then it shows the process of exosmosis, and the shape of the cell, size of the cell start shrinking. Also related to this, there are two phenomena are present, that are the plasmolysis and the crenation. Plasmolysis is a process which is generally occur in the plant cell. In the plant cell, along with the plasma membrane, they have a extra membrane on it, that is called the cell wall. It is a rigid layer which is present in the plant, and the cell wall help the plant to withstand the drastic condition, the various kind of condition like the heat, cold, rain, etc. So due to that cell wall, they can tolerate that condition. It is a rigid layer. So in case of the plant cell, if they are placed in such kind of solution, then whole the cell will not shrink. Only the protoplasm will start contracted and it will start moving away from the cell wall. Only this area will start shrinking away from the cell wall, and this process is known as the plasmolysis. But in case of the animal cell, in animals there is no rigid cell wall, they have only the cell membrane. So when these kind of cells are placed in the hypertonic solution, so the water will start moving outside and the cell, whole the cell will start shrinking from all the side, and it will give a wrinkled appearance. So that kind of process is known as the crenation. So these are the different processes in plants and animals. Next, there are the importance of osmosis, where the process of osmosis is used. So the process of osmosis is generally used for the absorption of water by the roots. The osmosis is a process which is generally occur in the living cell. It is not present in the non-living cells. And in some plants, there are some movements are also occur due to the osmosis process. Here we take an example of the touch me not plant, chewy mui plant, in which if we touch a leaf, then the leaf droop because there is the change in the osmotic concentration. So today this is our topic, whole topic about the osmosis. In our next video, we discuss our next topic, and that is the cytoplasm. Hello student, in our previous lecture, we have already discussed the two basic components of a cell, that are the nucleus and the second one is the plasma membrane. But today we read the third basic component of a cell, that is the cytoplasm. So student, the cytoplasm, it is a semi-fluid material. Semi-fluid means semi word for half, and fluid are the substance which can flow. So it is a semi-fluid material which is present between the nucleus and the plasma membrane. If we have the structure of a cell, this one is the nucleus, this is the plasma membrane, and the liquid which is present between these two, that is the cytoplasm. So cytoplasm is a fluid material present between the nucleus and the plasma membrane. Next, this cytoplasm contains generally the three things, that is the cytosol, the cell organelles, and it also included the cell inclusions. So these are the three components of this cytoplasm. Out of these three, we first discuss this cytosol. This cytosol is also known as the cytoplasmic matrix, and it is the fluid part of the cytoplasm. It is the liquid part of the cytoplasm. Fluid we already discussed, that is the material which can flow. This part contains the 90% of water, and along with this it also contains the various cell organelles, and the number of biomolecules like the minerals, the sugar, the enzyme, the vitamins, the ions, all these things are present in this cytosol. Along with these things, this cytosol also contain the waste material. Some of the waste materials are also present in the cytosol. Yes, after the cytosol, there are the cell organelles. These cell organelles are the subcellular structures which have characteristics form, structure and function. These cell organelles are the microscopic structure which are found in the cell. And very special thing about the cell organelles is that they have a specific structure, they have specific function in the cell, and they help the cell to perform the metabolic activities. These cell organelles are divided into the three categories, that is double membrane, single membrane and membraneless organelles. First of all, the double membranous organelles are those which have the double layer on it, and the two organelles, mitochondria and plastid, are that kind of organelles which have the double membrane on it. I think you all are familiar with the name of these organelles and the function of these organelles, but in our next lectures we discuss about these organelles one by one in detail. But today we discuss only whether they are double membrane, single or membraneless. So double membrane, these are mitochondria and plastid. The second one is the single membrane. Single membrane bound organelles are endoplasmic reticulum, Golgi apparatus, lysosomes and the vacuoles. And only a single organelle which is without any membrane in a cell, that is the ribosome. What is the function of the ribosome? Ribosome are the protein factory of the cell. Their main function is to give the protein, to provide the protein to the cell. There is another important thing about this cell organelles, that they continue to survive and perform their function even outside the cell, if the condition are provided similar to that of cytoplasm. If they are outside the cell and they get the environment similar to the cytoplasm, then they continue their function. So this is about the cell organelles. Yes, student. The next component of cytoplasm is the cell inclusions. These are actually the non-living substances which are present in the different part of the cell. Maybe it is in vacuoles, in the cytoplasm or in the cell wall. And these cell inclusions may be any kind of reserve material, or maybe any excretory material like urea, etc. Maybe any pigment, or maybe any pistil. It is just a small topic in the cytoplasm. Cell inclusion, actually these are non-living substances present in a cell. At last, we discuss the function of the cytoplasm, which type of function the cytoplasm perform in a cell. So first of all, it is the sheet of the metabolic process. It is the place where the metabolic process of the cell is completed. Second one, it distributes the nutrients, metabolite and enzyme in the cell. This cytoplasm help in the distribution of these kind of material like nutrient, metabolites or the enzymes to the various parts of the cell. Third one, it brings about the exchange of material between the cell organelles. Every cell organelles need the help of other to there is the exchange of material takes place between the various cell organelles, and that exchange is done with the help of the cytoplasm. These are the main function of the cytoplasm that is performed in a cell. So this is our complete topic today about the cytoplasm. Hello student, in our previous lecture we already studied about the basic component of the cell. But our next topic is the cell organelles. We read about the cell organelle one by one. But before starting the cell organelle, there is an important topic, that is the prokaryotic and the eukaryotic cells. So first, today we discuss about the prokaryotic and the eukaryotic cells. First of all, the prokaryotic cells. In science, the pro word come for the primitive and the karyo word come for the nucleus. So these are the cells which have the primitive type of nucleus. Primitive type of nucleus, like this. Actually, it's not nucleus. The genetic material is generally present in the coiled form without any membrane. That is called the nucleoid. And in eukaryotic cell, U word for the true, again the karyo word for the nucleus. So these are the cells which have the true kind of nucleus. Nucleus we already studied, that have the structure like this: double membranous structure, chromatin material, nucleolus, nucleoplasm, this kind of structure. That kind of nucleus is present in the eukaryotic cell. But in prokaryotic cell, not such kinds of structure is present here. Here just this chromatin thread is present in the cytoplasm in the coiled form. Here the name is given to them nucleoid. Second one, there is no membrane around the nucleus. Also, there are the membranous bound organelles are also absent in the prokaryotic cell. But in the eukaryotic cell, they have the membrane bound organelles, which we already studied, double membrane, single membrane. So that kind of organelles are only present in the eukaryotic cell, that is absent in the prokaryotic cell. But there is a single organelle, that is the ribosome. This structure is present in both the cell, prokaryotic cell and the eukaryotic cell. Then we take the example of this kind of cell, prokaryotic, which have primitive type of nucleus. So these kind of cell have that kind of organism which have a very simple body organization. So that are the bacteria and the blue-green algae. And these eukaryotic cell are found in the most advanced type of organisms. So that are the fungi, plants, animals, protista, etc. So in that kind of cell, that kind of cells are generally known as the eukaryotic cell. Yes, student, here is the diagram of a prokaryotic cell. We can draw a prokaryotic cell like this. Here there is an outer covering. This is a dark layer. This is known as the cell wall. This layer is called the cell wall. And to the inner side of this layer, there is a dotted layer that is known as the plasma membrane. And here is a rounded structure is present here, that is actually an inward fold of the membrane, that is known as the mesosome. Here is the structure nucleoid that we already discussed. In the prokaryotic cell, there is no true nucleus is present. So here the genetic material is in the coiled form, that is called the nucleoid. And here are these kind of structures are present, dotted structure, that are known as the ribosome. Ribosome we already discussed in our previous lecture. It is the protein factory of the cell. Its main function is to synthesize the protein for the cell. And here are the small hair-like structure are present on it, that are known as the fimbriae. And also these kind of structures are present here, that are known as the flagella. This structure are called flagella. This structure is used by a cell for the movement. They can move with the help of this flagella. Yes, student, this flagella is used by the cell for its movement. The function of this flagella is to provide the movement to the cell. There is a single structure, ribosome. It is the organelle which is without any membrane. So this organelle is present in both the cells, prokaryotic cell as well as the eukaryotic cell. Yes, dear student, you have already read about the plant cell and animal cell in your 8th class. You already know about that cell. In that kind of cell, we generally see large number of organelles are there, like mitochondria, Golgi apparatus, and vacuoles and another things. But in this prokaryotic cell, it is a primitive type of cell, so no such membrane bound organelles are present here. Here only the ribosomes are present. It is a structure which is present in both the cells. Only the difference is, in the prokaryotes they are generally 70S and in the eukaryote they are generally 80S. In prokaryote, that ribosomes are smaller in size, but in eukaryote their size is larger than the prokaryote. This is the difference between these two, prokaryote and the eukaryote. About this ribosomes we read in the detail in our next chapter, in our next lectures. At last, we discuss the differences between the prokaryotic cell and the eukaryotic cell. The basic difference between these cells are, first one, this prokaryotic cell, these are smaller in size, and these eukaryotic cells, they are larger in size. Second one, an organized nucleus is absent in the prokaryotic cell, which we already discussed. At place of nucleus, they generally have nucleoid. But in eukaryotic cell, they have the true type of nucleus. Third one, in the prokaryotic cell, the membrane-bound organelles are absent, like the mitochondria, the Golgi bodies, the endoplasmic reticulum. All that kind of organelles are absent in the prokaryotic cell. But in eukaryotic cell, the membrane-bound organelles are present. Then next one, in prokaryotic cell, the ribosomes are present, but that ribosomes are generally the 70S type. But in eukaryotic cell, the ribosomes which are present, that are generally the 80S type. Last one, the example of these cells, the prokaryotic cell. In prokaryotic cell, we can take the example of bacteria and the blue-green algae. But in case of eukaryotic cell, here we can take the example of the fungi, plants and animal. So student, these are the differences, basic differences between the prokaryotic and the eukaryotic cell. In our following lectures, we just discuss the cell organelles one by one. Hello student, today we read the cell organelle endoplasmic reticulum, whose abbreviation form is ER. Actually, this endoplasmic reticulum is a single membrane bound organelle. It is an extensive network of membrane bound tubes and the vesicle. This endoplasmic reticulum is generally made up of the tubes and the vesicles. About this endoplasmic reticulum, we can also say this endoplasmic reticulum, we already said, a single membrane bound organelle. It just have a single membrane, and that membrane have the structure similar to that of plasma membrane. It is also made up of the lipid and protein. And another thing about this endoplasmic reticulum is that it is present in all the cells, all eukaryotic cell, but it is absent in the prokaryotic cell and mammalian RBCs. Mammalian RBCs, our RBCs, red blood cells. In that cells, this endoplasmic reticulum is absent. It is not present in our RBCs. But in eukaryotic cell, it is present. In about the prokaryotic or eukaryotic cell, we already read in our previous chapters, in our previous lecture, sorry. Endoplasmic reticulum, if we are discuss the location of this endoplasmic reticulum, then we can say it is present between the plasma membrane and the nucleus. From this side, it is connected with the plasma membrane, and from this side, it is connected with the nuclear membrane. And the endoplasmic reticulum which is present here, that is actually a rough endoplasmic reticulum. We discuss this next, RER and SER. The presence of this ER is there. From outer side it is connected with plasma membrane, and here it is connected with the nuclear membrane. Yes student, this endoplasmic reticulum is of mainly two types, RER and SER. Here R stand for the rough endoplasmic reticulum, and S here stand for the smooth endoplasmic reticulum. ER, endoplasmic reticulum. So here RER, rough endoplasmic reticulum, and SER is the smooth endoplasmic reticulum. We can draw this RER like this. Again, only the single difference is here. On RER there are some dot like structures are present like this, but on the SER no such kind of dots are present. Actually these dots are the ribosomes. We already discussed ribosomes. These are the protein factory of the cell. It is a single organelle which is present in all kind of cell, whether they are prokaryotic or the eukaryotic cell. So there is a basic difference between these two. RER and SER is they have ribosomes on it and there is no ribosomes present on it. So this is the first difference. Second one, the ribosomes present on it, so they help in the synthesis of the protein. The main function of RER, they help in the protein synthesis. But this SER, there is no ribosome, so they help in the synthesis of the lipids. Their main function is to synthesize the lipids. And next one, the RER generally present on the deeper side of the cytoplasm. This RER mainly present on the deep, it is deep seated in the cytoplasm, but this SER is present on the peripheral side of the cytoplasm. If we are taking the example of this RER and SER, then about their position, this is the basic difference. This RER is present in deep in the cytoplasm and it is present on the peripheral side of the cytoplasm. And here student, we discussed that RER help in the protein synthesis and this SER help in the lipid synthesis, and both these things, these lipids and the proteins, they are help to prepare the plasma membrane. In the topic of plasma membrane, we discussed that this plasma membrane is made up of a bilayer of lipid and protein. And these lipid and protein which are required for the synthesis of this plasma membrane, that are generally given by this RER and SER. So they help in the membrane biogenesis. So from here a question can be arise, what is the membrane biogenesis? So means the materials which are required for the formation of plasma membrane that are provided by this endoplasmic reticulum. Yes student, at last we discussed the function of this endoplasmic reticulum. Two functions we already discussed in their types. They are generally two types, RER and SER. RER help in the synthesis of protein and this SER help in the synthesis of lipids. So these are the two functions of this endoplasmic reticulum we already discussed. Next one, transport. This ER help in the transport of material from one part of cell to another. To transport material, there is the need of the endoplasmic reticulum. Then next one is the support. It gives the internal support to the cytoplasm. It gives the support to cytoplasm. It makes the framework for the cell. Next one is the membrane biogenesis, that we have already discussed, that the cell membrane which is made up of lipid and protein, and that lipid and protein are provided by the endoplasmic reticulum. So we can say this endoplasmic reticulum help in the synthesis of the cell membrane. Then next one is detoxification. In vertebrates, the SER means smooth endoplasmic reticulum of the liver cells take part in detoxifying the many poison and the drugs. Vertebrates are those animals which have the vertebral column, like the human beings. In the human being, generally the SER which are present in the liver cell, that convert the more harmful substances into the less harmful forms, so that they can be easily secreted from the body. So that function of detoxification is done with the help of the endoplasmic reticulum. So these all are the function of the endoplasmic reticulum. In our next lecture, we discuss our next cell organelle, and that is the mitochondria. Hello student. Today we read our next cell organelle, that is the Golgi apparatus. This is a single membrane bound organelle, and it was discovered by a scientist whose name is Camillo Golgi, and after the name of that scientist the name is given Golgi apparatus. As we earlier read, the organelles that are absent in the prokaryotic cell or in the mammalian RBCs like endoplasmic reticulum, mitochondria. So this Golgi apparatus is also absent in the mammalian RBCs and the prokaryote, but it is present in the all eukaryotic cell. Next one, the Golgi apparatus, it is found as a single complex network in the animal cell. But if we take the example of the plant cell, and in that cell it is not present as a single complex network, they are found as a discrete unit, separate unit, and the name given to them is the dictyosomes. If we are discuss about the location of this Golgi apparatus, so this Golgi apparatus generally present near the nucleus, they lie near the nucleus. Now student, we read about the structure of this Golgi apparatus. Yes student, now we discuss the structure of this Golgi apparatus. This Golgi apparatus is generally a disc-like structures. It is a disc-shaped organelle which is generally made up of the membrane-bound vesicles, and these vesicles are arranged approximately parallel to each other, and they are parallel to each other, and these structures are known as the cisternae. Most of the time students have the confusion about the cisternae and the cristae. Cristae is the structure which is present in mitochondria, and the cisternae is the structure which is present in the Golgi apparatus. So the cisternae is present in the Golgi apparatus, they are parallel to each other. This Golgi apparatus have the two phases, that is, first one is the cis phase and the second one is the trans phase. This cis phase is known as the formative phase, and this trans phase is known as the maturation phase. If we are discuss the origin of this Golgi apparatus, so this Golgi apparatus is arise from the ER, endoplasmic reticulum. Golgi apparatus arise from this ER. The main function of the Golgi apparatus is to secrete the material. So the secretion of the material is the main function of Golgi apparatus, and it take the secretion from the ER. ER secrete the material in it with the help of the transport vesicles. Through that vesicles, they are attached with the cis phase of the Golgi apparatus. They give the secretion in the cis phase, then it will be transported with the help of this, and at last they will reach the trans phase. And at the trans phase, they generally form the secretory vesicles, and with the help of that secretory vesicle, the trans phase help to release the secretion out of the cell. So by the help of this, they help in the process of secretion. So main function of Golgi apparatus is the secretion, and this is the structure of the Golgi apparatus. Yes student, now we discuss the function of the Golgi apparatus. So the first function of Golgi apparatus is packaging of material. It modifies, short and packages the material which are coming from the ER. ER here stand for endoplasmic reticulum. So it modifies the material which are come from the ER, or it synthesized by the Golgi apparatus itself. So it modify, short and package that material. How this process is done in it, that we already discussed in the structure of the Golgi apparatus. Again, I just repeat it. It takes the material from the ER, and that material when reach the cis phase, then they are wrapped by the membrane, and that is known as the transport vesicle. After that, that material reach another part, another cisternae, and it reach the trans phase. And at the trans phase, it will form the secretory vesicles, and with the help of the secretory vesicle, it will be released out from the cell. So the main function of Golgi apparatus is packaging of material, secretion of the material. Second one, it help in the synthesis of the other organelles like the cell wall, the plasma membrane and the lysosome. Third one, it help in the formation of yolk. In the egg, mainly the yolk production is done with the help of the Golgi apparatus. So dear student, this is all about the Golgi apparatus. So listen this video carefully and write down the question answers in your fair notebook. The question answers which are already given in the assignments. Hello students, in our previous lecture we discussed about the endoplasmic reticulum and today our topic is mitochondria. So student, mitochondria in singular form is known as mitochondria. This mitochondria is a double membranous organelle and it is generally the rod-shaped organelle which is present in the aerobic eukaryotes. Eukaryotes we already discussed, but the aerobic word here for that is which is required the oxygen. The aerobic organism, aerobes are the organisms which require the presence of oxygen. So it is present in the aerobic eukaryotes, but they are lacking in the anaerobic protozoans. Anaerobic means the organisms which live in the absence of oxygen. So it is absent in the anaerobic protozoans, in the mammalian RBCs and in the prokaryotes. Next one about this mitochondria is special that this mitochondria is known as the powerhouse of the cell. But here a question is arise why this is known as the powerhouse of the cell. So student, this mitochondria is known as the powerhouse because they release the energy in the form of ATP. They provide the energy to the cell so that the cell can work, and they provide that energy in the form of the ATP. Yes student, the full form of this ATP is adenosine triphosphate. A for adenosine, T for tri and P for phosphate. And this ATP is known as the energy currency of the cell because the cell stores the energy in the form of ATP. Now student, we discuss the structure of this mitochondria. Yes student, this mitochondria having the two membranes. This is the outer membrane and this one is this highly folded membrane is the inner membrane. Its outer membrane is smooth. This outer membrane is smooth and it is also permeable. Permeable means it allows all the particles to move in and out from it. But the inner membrane is in the form of a fold, in the form of number of fold, and that fold collectively known as the cristae. And for single we use the word crista. So this membrane makes such kind of folds and that fold is known as the crista. What is the reason behind the formation of these folds? Because this mitochondria generally help in the process of aerobic respiration. So to increase the surface area for that process of respiration, they have the number of folds in it. Now in this membrane inward side there are some such tennis rod shaped structures are here that are known as the oxysomes. And student, this is the place where actually the energy is released. It is the place where the oxygen mix with the food and give the energy. Dear student, we know that we eat the food to get the energy, but how that food give us energy? Because of the oxidation process, because of the addition of oxygen, and that oxygen is added here in the oxysome. So it is the place from where the food oxidize and give the energy. So they release the ATP. Next one is they have these dot-like structures in it. That dot-like structure are actually the ribosomes. So in it the ribosomes are present and they also have this circular shape structure DNA. I think there are some doubt about this DNA. DNA is the genetic material present in a cell It contains all the hereditary information about the cell, and the full form of this DNA is deoxyribonucleic acid. Next one, there is the liquid present in it in the inward side of this, that is known as the matrix. So the liquid present in it is known as matrix, and this matrix contains a lot of material in it like the respiratory enzymes, lipids, some ribosomes, RNA, DNA, and it also having the certain kind of ions present in it. So this is about the structure of the mitochondria. Yes, student, there is a peculiar feature in this mitochondria is that it is semi-autonomous organelle. What's the meaning of this semi-autonomous? Semi means half, auto means self, nomos means prepare. It can replicate or duplicate itself. This mitochondria have a characteristics that it can form a copy of it, so that's why it is semi-autonomous organelle. Why this mitochondria have such kind of property? Because as we already said, in the matrix of this mitochondria, there are some ribosomes, RNA, DNA, these things are present. So because of these ribosomes, they can prepare the protein itself, and due to the presence of this DNA and RNA, they can replicate itself, so that's why it is semi-autonomous in nature. It is an important point in this mitochondria that they are the semi-autonomous organelle. Student, there are the full form of this DNA and RNA is given. These are the genetic material. The DNA is deoxyribonucleic acid and this RNA is the ribonucleic acid. These are the form of this DNA and RNA. Both these material help in the replication of this mitochondria. Yes, student, at last we discuss the function of this mitochondria. First of all, these are the sites where the aerobic part of respiration is performed. Mainly the respiration process, the aerobic part which is occur in the presence of oxygen, that is occur in the mitochondria. Second one, the most important function of this mitochondria, they provide the energy that we already discussed. They provide the energy in the form of ATP. So they provide energy for the various vital activities of the living cell. Third one, they provide intermediates for the synthesis of the various chemicals. For the formation of these kind of chemical like fatty acid, steroid, amino acid, chlorophyll, they act as a intermediate. So these are the basic function of this mitochondria. So dear student, listen these videos carefully and write down the assignment question answer in your fair notebook. Hello students, today we discuss the next organelle and that is the plastid. Plastid, actually these are the large cell organelle which are found only in the plant cell. These are not present in animal cell and other cell. They are only present in the plant cell. These plastids are of two types, that are the leucoplast and the second one is the chromoplast. Dear student, in science the leuco word come for colorless or white. So these are the plastid which are colorless, that are the leucoplast, and this chromo word come for the color. So these are the plastid which having the color, so they are the chromoplast. Next one, this leucoplast, these are colorless, so they do not take part in another process. They generally take part in the storage of the food material. They store the different kind of food material, and on the basis of this they are of three types. The first one is the amyloplast. Amylo for the starch, so they store the starch. Aleuroplast, their main function is the storage of protein. And the last one is aleoplast, so these are the plastid which generally store the oil. If there is the query about the function of leucoplast, then the main function is the storage of the various kind of material. Chromoplast, that we already said, these are the colored plastid. Again, they are having the two subtypes. that is non-green and the green. First of all, the non-green chromoplastid, they are the plastids which having the other colored pigments due to the presence of carotenoid, and these are non-green. They are generally found in the algae, fruits, flowers and the roots of the higher plants. They give the different color to the flowers and the fruits. Second is the green plastid. The plastids which are having the light absorbing green pigment, that is chlorophyll. Chlorophyll, we already know, it is a pigment which help the plant to get the sunlight and help in preparing the food. So the plastid which containing this pigment chlorophyll, that are actually known as the chloroplast. So dear student, now we discuss about the structure of this chloroplast. Yes student, here is the diagram of the chloroplast is given here. As like the mitochondria, the chloroplast also have the double membranous structure. It is the outer membrane and this one is the inner membrane. And on the inner side, they have these sac-like structures present in it, that is known as the grana. Singularly, it is known as the granum. And these are the structure which connect them, that is known as the lamellae, and the liquid which is present here, that liquid is known as the stroma. This chloroplast is known as the kitchen of the cell. Why it is called the kitchen of the cell? Because it have the chlorophyll. So due to the presence of chlorophyll, it can take part in the process of photosynthesis. So it is the place where the process of photosynthesis occur. So it is the site of photosynthesis. It is also known as the kitchen of the cell, because we know that due to the process of photosynthesis, plant get their food. Dear student, this photosynthesis occur in the two phases, that is light reaction and the dark reaction, that you will study in your next higher classes. But here it is important to know that this process photosynthesis occur in two phases, that is the light reaction and the dark reaction, and that light reactions generally occur in the granum. Actually they are occur in the thylakoids which are present in the granum portion. So light reaction occur here, and stroma is the place where the dark reactions takes place. There is also an important thing about this chloroplast, that in the stroma of this chloroplast, they have the DNA, they have the RNA, they have the ribosomes. These things we also observe in one of the organelles, that is the mitochondria. And there we said, due to the presence of these things, they can duplicate themselves, they can prepare the protein itself. So same here, in case of chloroplast, they can also synthesize their own protein, they can also duplicate or replicate itself. So that's why they are also known as semi-autonomous in nature, like the mitochondria. Now at last we discuss the function of the plastid. The first one, chromoplast. Chromo again for color. So these are colored plastids. They provide the different color to the flower and the fruits. Yes student, do you know why the flower and the fruits are having the different color? Because due to these beautiful colors, they can attract the insect toward itself for pollination. Next one, leucoplast. Leucoplast take part in the storage of protein, starch and the oil. Third one, chloroplast. As we already know, chloroplast are the plastid which have chlorophyll. So they trap the solar energy and they help to manufacture the food through the process of photosynthesis. Next one, the chloroplast, as you already read, it helps in the process of photosynthesis, and during the time of photosynthesis, the plant take oxygen from the CO2 from the environment and After this process, they release oxygen so that the balance of oxygen and carbon dioxide is maintained in the environment. So indirectly, this chloroplast help in the balancing of O2 and CO2 in the environment. So dear student, these are the main function of the various kind of plastids. Now listen the video carefully and write down the assignment question answer in your fair notebook. Hello student. These lysosomes are also known as the suicide bag, and their question may be arise why they are known as the suicide bag. So the answer of this question is, in damaged cell, when the cell is damaged, the lysosome burst and they release the enzyme for the digestion of the cellular component. And because of their ability to kill and digest that cellular component, so that's why they are known as the suicide bag. The enzymes which are present in these lysosomes, they seldom release, only they release at the time when the cell is damaged. At that time, their main function is to eat all that components which are present in that particular cell. So their main function is the cleaning of the cell. Another function of these lysosomes are, the first one, defense. How they defense? They generally engulf that material outside germ and pathogens which enter in the cell, so they help in the process of defense. Then digestion, it is the main function of lysosome. They help in intracellular digestion. Cleaning, we already discussed. They generally eat up all the material when a cell bursts, so they help in the cleaning process. Then the metamorphosis. Metamorphosis is a process to change a larva into the adult through the drastic change. Larva into adult. Like if we take the larva of a frog, that is totally different from the adult. It have a tail, and the tail which is present in it, that is eaten up by the lysosome. So these help in the process of the metamorphosis also. These are the main function of the lysosome, and this is the topic about the lysosome. And dear student, now I want to discuss something with you. इस वीडियो के बाद मैं आपको एनसीईआरटी के इंटेक्स्ट और एक्सरसाइज के जो क्वेश्चंस हैं वो प्रोवाइड करवा रही हूँ, और आपको कुछ एक क्वेश्चन जो एनसीईआरटी के हमारे इंक्लूडेड थे मैं असाइनमेंट्स में दे चुकी हूँ. अगर स्टूडेंट्स ने वो क्वेश्चन किए हैं तो उनको वो दोबारा करने का नहीं है. वो जो क्वेश्चंस वो पहले कर चुके हैं उनको वो छोड़ के बाकी जितने भी क्वेश्चंस हैं दे विल राइट इन योर नोटबुक, फेयर नोटबुक. हेलो स्टूडेंट, before we discuss our next topic, firstly we consider one of our remaining topic, and that is the cell wall. So dear student, today we discuss the cell wall. Cell wall is a outermost covering present in the plant cell. It is a rigid means hard, semi-elastic and protective, but a permeable covering present outside the plasma membrane in the plant cell, fungi and prokaryote. It is rigid, hard, and we said it is a protective layer. How it protects the cell? So dear student, as we already know that plants are stationary in their habit, they remain stationary at a place. So to protect them from the various environmental conditions like heat, cold, rain and insects, they have a outermost covering on it, that is the cell wall. So cell wall is a protective layer, and it is permeable covering which allows small particles to move in and out. It is present outside the plasma membrane in the plant cell. In plant cell, plasma membrane is present, but along with this plasma membrane they have a external layer on it, that is the cell wall. So here a diagram of a plant cell is given, and here the inner layer is known as the plasma membrane, but outside this plasma membrane there is a covering, that is the cell wall. This cell wall was the first observed by the scientist whose name is Robert Hooke. He is the scientist who discovered the cell, and he observed the cell wall at that time in the year 1665. Yes, student. Now we discuss the composition of this cell wall. The plant cell wall is mainly made up of cellulose. Dear student, this cellulose is a complex fibrous carbohydrate, and it is interesting about the cellulose. It is not digested by human being and some other animal. In past, some cellulose digesting bacteria are present in the human being in their vermiform appendix, but now the function of that organ is not in our present in our body. Cellulose now is not digested by human being. Mainly the herbivorous animal digests that cellulose, and in some cases, in some plant, this cell wall has the extra deposition on it, and that may be of lignin, suberin or cutin. It may be present upon the cell wall in some of the plant and for performing the various functions. Now, dear student, we discuss our next topic, that is most important topic, the middle lamella. In plant, the cell wall of one plant cell is connected with the another plant cell, then it is connected with the another plant cell, and they have a cementing layer present between them. There is a cementing layer present between the two adjacent plant cells which bind them together, and this cementing layer is known as the middle lamella. Middle lamella is generally made up of the calcium and magnesium pectide. Now we discuss the next topic, that is the plasmodesmata. So dear student, singularly we can say plasmodesmata, plasmodesma. It is a narrow thread of cytoplasm that passes through the cell wall of adjacent plant cell and allow the communication between them. This is the cytoplasmic strand between the two adjacent cells. This is the one cell, this is the second cell, this is the third cell. So between this adjacent cell, there is the connection between them. Their cytoplasm remain in contact with each other, and this connection is known as the plasmodesmata. Now student, we discuss the plasmolysis. We already read about this topic in the in the heading of the osmosis process. So when a plant cell is kept in the hypertonic solution, then this water which is present in the cell, that will be start coming out from the cell, and the cell will start shrinking. But in case of plant cell, they have a rigid cell wall, so not the complete cell shrink, only the plasma membrane along with the cytoplasm. Collectively we can say the protoplast will start shrinking and it will start moving away from the cell wall. And this phenomenon of shrinking the protoplast in the plant cell due to the process of exosmosis, when the cell is placed in hypertonic solution, this phenomenon of shrinking is known as the plasmolysis. Yes student, at last we discuss the function of the cell wall. So first of all, shape. It provides the shape to the cell. Second one, strength. It is the outermost covering. It provides the mechanical strength to the plant. Third one, protection. It is the outermost covering. It protects the cell against the pathogen and the mechanical injury. So dear student, pathogens, you already know pathogens are the disease causing germs. So this cell wall protect the plant from these pathogens and any mechanical injury. Then next one, environmental variation. This point we already discussed. Due to the cell wall, due to the presence of this cell wall, plant can tolerate the various climatic conditions like the heat, cold, rain, and another thing. Due to this cell wall, they are capable to survive in these kind of condition, environmental condition. So dear student, these are the main functions of the cell wall. Next in our video we discuss about the next cell organelle, that is the plastid. Till then, Listen the video carefully and write down the assignment question answer in your fair notebook. Hello student, today we discuss the next organelle, that is the ribosome. Ribosomes are known as the protein factory of the cell because they synthesize protein for the cell. These are actually the dense spherical particles. Their size is about 150 to 250 angstrom in diameter. This ribosome first discovered by the George Palade in 1955. So, according to the name of that scientist, the name is given to them, the Palade particles also. Their size, generally, their size is determined by the speed with which they sediment in the centrifugal field. In the centrifugal field is that in which a particle is moved away from the force which is exerted by the center, and the Strasbourg is the unit to measure the sedimentation coefficient. Ribosomes are generally of two types, 70S and 80S. So this S is meant for the Strasbourg coefficient, and this Strasbourg is the unit in which we measure the sedimentation coefficient. So that's why the ribosomes are of two types, 70S and the 80S. Yes student, ribosomes are of two types, 70S and 80S. 70S ribosomes generally present in the prokaryotic cell, and in the eukaryotic cell there are generally the 80S ribosomes are present. Here is the structure given. In the prokaryotic cell, 70S ribosome is present and it consists of the two units. First is the 50S subunit and then next is the 30S subunit. And in eukaryotic, there are 80S ribosome. They consist the 60S subunit and the 40S subunit. Each ribosome mainly made up of the two things, that is the rRNA and the protein. Here this R stand for the ribosomal RNA. RNA we already discussed, ribonucleic acid. So these are ribosomal RNA and protein. Yes student, there is a main feature in this ribosome that they are the organelle which are without any membrane. They do not consist of any membrane, and main function of this ribosome is it generally have a main function, that is the protein synthesis. They provide the space for the synthesis of the protein, so that's why they are known as the protein factories of the cell. So dear student, this is about the ribosome. Now we discuss next lysosome. Student, now we discuss the lysosome. Lysosome mainly made up of the two Greek words. It comes from the two Greek words lysis and the soma. Lysis word here come for digestive and soma word for the body. So the lysosomes are the digestive bodies present in the cell. These are the small spherical vesicles which are covered by a single membrane. So these are the organelles which are having only a single membrane, and they contain the digestive enzymes, and these enzymes help these lysosomes to these help the lysosome for the intracellular digestion. So that's why they are known as the digestive bags. Yes, dear student, the enzymes which are present in this lysosome, these enzymes are actually synthesized by the RER. RER stand for rough endoplasmic reticulum. So these are made by RER, but they are packed in this lysosome by the Golgi body. So enzyme is synthesized by RER, but they are packed in this lysosome by the Golgi body. So the main function of this lysosome is they help in the process of intracellular digestion. So that's why they are also known as the digestive bags. Today we discuss the next topic, that is the vacuoles. So dear student, vacuoles are the membrane bound non-cytoplasmic sac that contains the non-living solid and the liquid content. Vacuoles generally they have the sac-like structure like this, They are the small pouch in which they can store the liquid or the solid material. Generally, the vacuoles are of three types: sap vacuoles, food vacuoles, and contractile vacuole. First, we discuss the sap vacuole. In science, the sap word comes for the liquid. If we take the example of the animal cell, the size of the vacuole are very small, but their number is large, and also in some young plant cell. But if we take the example of a plant cell, then the size of this vacuole is larger. Generally, it acquires 50 to 70% of area of the plant cell, and the membrane which is present here outside it, that is known as the tonoplast. So the membrane of this sap is called tonoplast, and the liquid which is present in it, that is known as the cell sap. This is about the structure of the sap vacuole. The main function of this sap vacuole is to store the salt, sugar, mineral and other kind of material. And also in case of plant cell, they store the waste material in it. And their main function is storage. Next we move on the next, that is the food vacuole. In some unicellular organism, like if we take the example of amoeba, in that case they have irregular body. When they get the food, a small outgrowth comes, that is called pseudopodia. When they reach the food particle, this membrane start bending inward to engulf that food, and then they will form this sac-like structure, that is called the food vacuole. So this vacuole also help to intake the food inside the body in some unicellular organisms. So this is another type of vacuole, that is known as the food vacuole. Yes student, third type of vacuoles are the contractile vacuole. These are contractile, means they can expand and they can contract. They can expand or shrink in the size. Their main function is osmoregulation and excretion. What is this osmoregulation and excretion? Excretion is the process by which the waste is removed from the body of an organism, and the osmoregulation is the process of maintaining the water and iron concentration in an organism. And both these functions are performed by the contractile vacuole in some unicellular organism. Here we take the example of amoeba. In case of amoeba, they generally have a irregular body, a nucleus, cytoplasm. All the waste which is generated in that cell, that is collected in a vacuole. The name of that vacuole is contractile vacuole. When the waste move inside it, then the size of this vacuole is increased. It will start rising to the surface. When it reaches the surface, then it will burst and it release the material outside the cell. So this is the process of excretion, means they are removing the waste out from the cell, but that function is performed with the help of this contractile vacuole. So the main function of the contractile vacuoles are osmoregulation and excretion. So now we discuss the main function of these vacuoles, various kind of vacuoles. Yes student, now we discuss the functions of the vacuoles. First one, osmoregulation and excretion, that we already discussed in contractile vacuole. Osmoregulation and excretion is the main function of the vacuoles. In case of contractile vacuole, they help in the process of excretion, means removal of waste from the body, and also help to maintain the water and iron concentration in a cell. Second one, storage. In sap vacuole, we discuss this point. The main function of the sap vacuole is the storage of solid and liquid material. So the main function of the sap vacuole is storage. Third one, cellular waste. In case of plant cell, the size of vacuole is large and the main function is they collect the cellular waste in that vacuole. Next one is the food vacuole that we discuss in amoeba. In case of amoeba, they capture their food with the help of the food vacuoles. Then turgidity and rigidity. The turgidity of a cell is maintained due to the vacuole. If we take the example of the plant cell, when water enter into it, then the size of the cell is increased, but they have the cell wall, so it will not burst, but the size and rigidity of the cell is maintained due to the help of this vacuole. So dear student, these are the main function of the vacuoles which they perform in the different kind of cells. So listen the video carefully and then do the assignment question answer in your fair notebook. Hello student, in our previous lecture we discussed about the topic vacuoles and we also discussed their functions. But now in today's we discuss the topic centrosome. Centrosome, it is a small necked organelle present near the nucleus in the cell of animal. This centrosome generally present in the animal cell, and if we discuss about their location, then they are generally present near the nucleus. Next one, if we discuss their structure, then it mainly consists of the two microcylinders and that are known as the centriole. And these centrioles are at right angle to each other. These centrioles have a sheath of cytoplasm over it that is known as the centrosphere. Now we discuss the structure in detail. Yes student, now we discuss the structure of this centrosome in detail. As we already said, the centrosome generally consists of the two cylindrical structures that are centrioles, and they lie at right angle to each other. And each centriole consists of a structure like this. It generally have the cluster of 9, and in these 9 there are three microtubules are present. We can draw like this. First we can draw a circle, then we can make the three small circles, total in counting 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And here we write A, B and C. We draw a circle in the center that is known as the central hub. From this central hub, a straight line attaches with the microtubules, and that lines are known as the radial spokes that are arise from the central hub, and they attach to the microtubules. And the A subunit in each attached with the C part of the next. Then A attached with the C. Again A attached with the C. So they give this kind of appearance, and we can join the structures like this, and this will give a appearance of cartwheel. It look like a cartwheel structure. Next, outside this, on their periphery, they have such kind of proteinous structure at every cluster, and that is known as the pericentriolar satellite. Like the satellite, they also rotate around it, and the main function of this pericentral satellite, they help in the process of cell division. When the cells show the process of cell division, at that time they will help in the process of in the formation of the ester rays. Next one, the arrangement which is present in the centrosome, that is generally 9 plus 0 arrangement. The arrangement which we show that is the 9 plus 0 arrangement, but in higher classes we discuss the cilia and flagella. The structure of cilia and flagella, there they have the arrangement 9 plus 2. Then what is the difference between these 9 plus 0 and 9 plus 2? If we see the structure, in the center there are no microtubules are present, so that's why they have 9 plus 0 arrangement. But if we take the example of cilia and flagella, then they have the 2 microtubular structure also here, so that's why they have the 9 plus 2 arrangement. So dear student, this is the structure of the centrosome, and the main function of the centrosome is they help in the process of cell division. They help in the formation of the astral rays during the time of cell division. So this is all about the centrosome. Now we discuss our last topic of this lesson, that is the differences between the plant cell and the animal cell. Yes student, at last we discuss the differences between animal and the plant cell. So dear student, the basic difference between the animal cell and plant cell is, in the plant cell they have a additional layer that is known as the cell wall, but it is absent in the animal cell. Second one, if we observe the location of nucleus, so in animal cell this nucleus is centrally located, but in case of plant cell it is toward the periphery. Third one, in the animal cell the vacuoles are very small in size, but their number is more than the plant cell. But in case of plant cell, they generally have a big size centrally placed vacuole. And another one, they have in the plant cell the chloroplast is present because their main function is to perform photosynthesis. So for that they have chloroplast, but in case of animal cell chloroplast is absent. Next one, in the animal cell they have the Golgi apparatus, a complex structure Golgi apparatus, but in case of plant cell it is not present as a single unit, it is found as the separate smaller units, and the name is dictyosome. So in the case of plant cell, Golgi apparatus is found in the separate unit, and the name is given dictyosomes. And if you observe this animal cell, so near the nucleus mostly the animal cell have the centrosome, but in most of the plant cell the centrosome is absent. In the lower plant, maybe in some algae, that is present. So dear student, these are the basic differences between the animal cell and the plant cell. And one more, plant cell is larger in size as comparison to the animal cell. So dear student, this is our first lesson, and tomorrow we will start our next chapter, that is tissue.